The year was 2347, and humanity had been part of the Galactic Concord for exactly 200 years. In that time, they had learned one painful truth. The galaxy did not care about fairness. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood at the window of her office on Station Prime, watching cargo ships drift past. Some of them were human vessels, marked with Earth's blue and green symbol. Most of them were not. She had spent 15 years in this place, fighting for her species through paperwork and polite meetings. She was tired. More than tired. She was finished. The message on her desk had arrived 3 hours ago. The Velith Dominion, an empire of insect-like creatures who had never liked humanity, had made their move. They claimed an old survey from before humans even reached space gave them rights to New Carthage. 12 million humans lived on that world. They had built farms and cities and lives there. Now they were being told to leave within 30 days or become Velith property. Elena had read the message 5 times. Each time, she felt the same cold anger building in her chest. 200 years. That was how long humanity had played by the rules. When they first arrived among the stars, they had been so hopeful. The Galactic Concord promised peace and cooperation between all species. Humanity joined eagerly, accepting their place as newcomers. They were given the lowest rank in the system. They were called provisional members. They were told to be patient. So they were patient. When the Velith started stopping human cargo ships for inspections that lasted weeks, humanity complained through proper channels. The Concord listened. They made notes. Nothing changed. When human settlers on border worlds were pushed off their land by species who had been in space longer, humanity filed formal protests. The Concord expressed concern. They formed committees. Nothing changed. When trade agreements gave humans the worst deals and the smallest profits, humanity asked for fair treatment. The Concord promised to review the situation. Years passed. Nothing changed. Elena had watched all of this happen. She had believed once that patience would be rewarded. She had told her people to trust the system. She had promised that things would get better. She had been wrong. The door behind her opened, and her assistant, a young man named David, stepped inside. His face was pale. "Ambassador, the Council has responded to your emergency request, and they have scheduled a hearing for next month. They say the New Carthage situation requires careful study." Elena laughed. It was not a happy sound. "Next month. The Velith gave our people 30 days, and the Council wants to study the situation for longer than that." David did not know what to say. He had only been working for her for 2 years. He still believed things could change. Elena remembered feeling that way. It seemed like a very long time ago. She turned from the window and sat at her desk. For a moment, she simply stared at the message from the Velith. Such simple words for such a terrible thing. Leave your homes or become slaves. Choose within 30 days. "David," she said, "please arrange transport to the Council chamber. I will be making a statement in 1 hour. But Ambassador, the hearing is not until—" "I will not be waiting for the hearing." The Council chamber was a vast circular room at the heart of Station Prime. Representatives from dozens of species sat in rising rows of seats, looking down at a small platform in the center. This was where those who wished to speak stood, surrounded by beings who considered themselves superior. Elena had stood on that platform many times. She had begged for help. She had presented evidence of wrongdoing. She had argued and pleaded and reasoned that today would be different. The chamber fell quiet as she walked to the center. The Velith representative, a tall creature with clicking mandibles and cold compound eyes, watched her with what might have been amusement. He expected another complaint, another request for help that would never come. "Honored members of the Concord," Elena began, her voice steady. "I come before you today not to file a complaint, not to ask for a hearing. not to request fair treatment. She paused, looking around at the faces watching her. Most showed boredom. Some showed mild curiosity. None showed concern. For 200 years, humanity has followed the rules of this council. We have accepted our status as newcomers. We have been patient when patience cost us dearly. We have trusted that this body would eventually recognize our right to fair treatment. The Velith representative made a sound that might have been laughter. Today, Elena continued, the Velith Dominion has demanded that 12 million humans abandon their homes or surrender their freedom. This is not a trade dispute. This is not a border disagreement. This is theft on a massive scale, and it is happening because the Velith believe we are too weak to stop them. She took a deep breath. This next part would change everything. I am not here to ask the council to help us. We have asked before. We know the answer. Instead, I am here to inform this body that humanity officially withdraws from the Concord's dispute resolution framework, effective immediately. For the first time, the chamber stirred. The Velith representative leaned forward, his eyes fixed on Elena. We will handle the New Carthage situation ourselves, she said. We will protect our people with our own strength. We advise all parties involved in disputes with humanity to consider their positions carefully. She looked directly at the Velith representative. We are done asking for fairness. We are done trusting processes that were designed to keep us weak. We are done being patient. The Velith clicked his mandibles. Is this a threat, human? Elena smiled. There was no warmth in it. No, this is a statement of fact. We came to the stars hoping to find friends. Instead, we found a system built to exploit us. For 200 years, we tried to work within that system. That time is over. She turned and walked toward the exit. Behind her, the chamber erupted in noise. Species who had ignored humanity for centuries suddenly wanted to talk. The Velith representative was demanding action, punishment, retaliation. Elena did not stop. She did not look back. As she stepped through the doors, she activated her personal communicator. A single encrypted message went out across the stars, reaching every human military installation, every ship, every base. The message contained only 2 words. Begin immediately. 200 years of patience had ended. Now the galaxy would learn what happened when humanity stopped being nice. Fleet Admiral Yuki Tanaka received the message in her office deep beneath the mountains of Switzerland. The room was simple and cold, filled with screens showing the positions of every human ship in the galaxy. She had spent 40 years preparing for this moment. Part of her had hoped it would never come, but it had come, and she was ready. She pressed a button on her desk, and the screens around her changed. Hidden fleets appeared on the maps. Ships that officially did not exist. Weapons that humanity had been forbidden to build. Plans that had been developing in secret for generations. The Galactic Concord believed they knew humanity's military strength. They were wrong. They had seen only what humanity wanted them to see. YUK, I picked up her communicator. All commanders, this is Admiral Tanaka. Operation Silent Thunder is now active. You have your targets. Execute within 6 hours. No delays. No warnings. Across human space, ships began to move. The Velith had more than 300 military installations within striking distance of New Carthage. Each one was protected by weapons and shields and soldiers who believed they were safe. After all, the humans were weak. The humans were new to space. The humans had never won a real war against anyone. The Velith did not know about the Shadow Fleet. For 150 years, humanity had been building ships in hidden facilities on the edges of their territory. These ships used technology that the Concord had banned, not because it was dangerous, but because it would make younger species too powerful. Humanity had agreed to the ban publicly while ignoring it privately. Admiral Chen Wei commanded the First Strike Force. His ship, The Whisper hung in dark space 3 light minutes from a Veloth military station. Around him, 20 other vessels waited in perfect silence. Their hulls were coated in materials that absorbed sensor signals. Their engines produced almost no heat. They were ghosts. All ships, Chung said quietly, weapons free in 3 minutes. Remember your targets. Remember why we are here. These people tried to steal our world. They thought we would do nothing. Let us show them how wrong they were. The attack happened everywhere at once. On 300 Veloth stations, the lights went out. Power systems failed. Weapons stopped working. Shields collapsed. In most cases, not a single shot was fired. Human technology simply reached out and turned everything off. The Veloth soldiers inside those stations found themselves sitting in darkness, surrounded by machines that no longer worked. They were not dead. They were not even hurt. But they were completely helpless. This was the message humanity wanted to send. We could have killed you. We chose not to. This time, on Station Prime, the council chamber erupted in chaos when the reports came in. The Veloth representatives screamed for war, for revenge, for the complete destruction of the human species. Other representatives looked at their screens with growing fear. How had the humans done this? How had they hidden such power? High Counselor Marin of the Althany, one of the oldest members of the Concord, called for silence. When the room finally quieted, he spoke in his slow, careful way. It appears we have made a serious mistake. The Veloth representative clicked his mandibles angrily. The only mistake was allowing these creatures into the Concord at all. We must strike back immediately. With what? Marin asked. They have just disabled your entire forward fleet without losing a single ship. Do you believe your home fleet will do better? Before anyone could answer, the main screen in the chamber flickered. A human face appeared. It was Admiral Tanaka, speaking from her command center on Earth. Members of the Galactic Concord, she said, I apologize for this interruption. I felt it was important to explain what has just happened. The chamber fell completely silent. For 200 years, humanity has followed your rules. We accepted our low status. We allowed ourselves to be exploited. We did this because we hoped you would eventually treat us fairly. She paused, letting her words sink in. That hope is gone. The Veloth Dominion attempted to steal our world and our people. The Concord did nothing. So we have done something ourselves. On the screen behind her, images appeared. 300 disabled stations. Veloth soldiers sitting in darkness. Ships floating dead in space. We have not killed anyone today. We want you to understand that this was a choice. We could have destroyed those stations. We could have killed everyone inside. We chose mercy. Admiral Tanaka's eyes hardened. But mercy has limits. New Carthage is a human world. It will remain a human world. Any ship that approaches our colony systems with hostile intent will not receive a warning. Any attack on human civilians will be answered with overwhelming force. She leaned closer to the camera. We did not want this war. We spent 2 centuries trying to avoid it. But if war is what you want, war is what you will get. And you will not enjoy it. The screen went dark. For a long moment, no one in the council chamber spoke. The Veloth representative stood frozen, his compound eyes wide with something that might have been fear. High Counselor Marin broke the silence. I believe we need to reconsider our approach to the human situation. On New Carthage, the 12 million humans who had been told to abandon their homes looked up at the sky. They had heard the news. They had seen the footage of disabled Veloth stations. For the first time in weeks, they felt something other than fear. They felt hope. And in hidden bases throughout human space, soldiers and pilots and engineers celebrated quietly. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. They had built weapons and learned tactics and prepared for a day they hoped would never come. Now the day was here. And humanity was ready. The long patience was over. The waiting was finished. After 200 years of being told their place was at the bottom, humans had finally shown the galaxy what they were truly capable of. This was only the beginning. High Chronicler Yemeth was very old. His species, the Morath, had been traveling between stars when most other races were still learning to use fire. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched species destroy themselves and others reach greatness. In all his centuries of life, he had never seen anything quite like what the humans had just done. The council chamber was still in chaos 3 days after the attack. The Velith demanded war. The Alphani counseled caution. A dozen other species argued about what should be done. No one could agree on anything. Yemeth had spent those 3 days in the archives, reading everything his people had collected about humanity. Now he understood things that the rest of the council did not. And what he understood frightened him. He rose slowly from his seat, and the chamber fell quiet. When a Morath wished to speak, everyone listened. They were the oldest. They had seen the most. Their words carried weight. "Before we decide anything," Yemeth said, his voice rough with age, "there are things you must know about humanity. Things we have failed to consider." The Velith representative made a dismissive sound. "What is there to know? They are young. They are few. They have been lucky. They have been careful," Yemeth corrected. "There is a difference." He touched a control on his chair, and the main screen lit up with data. Humans evolved on a harsh world. Their planet tried to kill them constantly. Predators, diseases, weather, other humans. They survived all of it. Images appeared on the screen. Ancient human hunters chasing animals across vast plains. They did not look very dangerous. "They are not the strongest creatures," Yemeth continued. "They are not the fastest. They do not have claws or poison or armor. What they have is something far more dangerous." He paused. "They never stop. Their ancestors hunted by following prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Other predators attack and retreat. Humans just keep coming, hour after hour, day after day, until the target gives up or dies." The chamber was very quiet now. This same trait exists in their minds. When they want something, they do not give up. They will spend generations working toward a goal. They will accept losses that would break other species. They will keep fighting long after any reasonable creature would surrender. More images appeared. Human history. Wars and conflicts stretching back thousands of years. But there is something else. Something worse. Yemeth looked around the chamber, making sure everyone was paying attention. Most species in this room achieved unity before reaching space. You stopped fighting among yourselves long ago. Humans did not. They spent their entire history at war with each other. They perfected the art of killing over thousands of years. The screen showed weapons. Simple spears became swords, became guns, became bombs, became things that could destroy entire cities. They developed weapons we never imagined, strategies we never conceived. They learned to fight in every possible environment: land, sea, air, underground, underwater. When they finally reached space, they brought all of that knowledge with them. The Velith representative stirred uneasily. "If they are so dangerous, why have they been so passive?" "Because they were waiting," Yemeth said. "They joined the Concord hoping we would be worthy of their trust. They followed our rules because they wanted peace. They were kind because kindness is their first choice, not because they are incapable of anything else." He let that sink in. "We showed them that kindness would not be rewarded. We exploited their patience. We mistook their restraint for weakness." Yemeth shook his head slowly. "We woke something that was sleeping, and now we must face the consequences." The Velith representative stood angrily. "You speak as if we should be afraid of these creatures. We have the largest fleet in the sector. We will crush them." "Then send your fleet," Yemeth said calmly. But let me tell you what will happen. He touched another control. The screen showed the Velith home fleet, 300 warships, the pride of their empire. Your ships are built for power. They are large and strong and carry many weapons. Human ships are built for speed and precision. Your admirals believe in direct confrontation. Human commanders believe in winning, and they do not care how they achieve it. More data appeared. Analysis of the recent attack. Tactical breakdowns. The humans did not destroy your stations because they wanted you to understand their power. They wanted you to know they could have killed you and chose not to. This was a message, and you have not listened to it. The Velith representative clicked his mandibles. We will send the fleet. We will show these humans what real power looks like. Yemeth sat back down. Then I suggest you send ships to recover the survivors. You will need them. 3 days later, the Velith home fleet engaged a human task force near the New Carthage system. 300 Velith warships faced 30 human vessels. The Velith commanders expected an easy victory. The battle lasted 4 hours. The humans did not fight fair. They appeared from unexpected directions. They struck weak points with perfect accuracy. They used their ship's speed to stay out of reach while delivering devastating attacks. They worked together like parts of a single machine, each ship knowing exactly where the others would be. When it was over, the Velith had lost nearly 200 ships. The humans had lost 3. News of the defeat spread across the Concord like fire. Species who had dismissed humanity began to reconsider. Those who had exploited human colonies suddenly felt very nervous. The order of the galaxy, which had seemed so permanent, was beginning to crack. On his home planet, High Chronicler Yemeth received reports of the battle and felt no satisfaction in being right. He had warned them. They had not listened. Now everyone would learn the truth about humans the hard way. Captain Marcus Chun stood on the bridge of the carrier Defiance and watched the Namari convoy approach. His orders were simple: intercept and evaluate. The Namari were a wandering species, traveling between stars and great fleets that had no home world. They had been badly treated by the Concord for centuries. Now humanity wanted to know whose side they were on. The lead Namari ship was old and scarred, patched together from 100 different repairs. Its captain, a tall being with silver skin and 4 arms, appeared on the communication screen. "Human vessel," the captain said. "We carry no weapons. We are only travelers. Please, let us pass." Marcus studied the alien's face. He saw fear there, but also something else. Curiosity. Hope. "I am Captain Chun of the Earthship Defiance," he said. "We are not here to stop you. We are here to talk." The Namari captain blinked in surprise. To talk? About what? About the future. About what kind of galaxy you want to live in. 3 months had passed since the war began. The Velith had lost every battle. Their empire was crumbling. But more important than military victories was what was happening in the spaces. Between battles, humanity had started sending messages. Not threats. Not demands. Invitations. We know what they did to you. We know how they treated you. We have been treated the same way. Join us, and we will build something better together. The response surprised everyone, including the humans. The Kreth came first. They were traders who had been cheated for generations by rigged markets and unfair rules. When human ships appeared in their territory, the Kreth did not run. They asked questions. And when they heard the answers, they joined. The Volani followed. Their planet had been stripped of resources by Concord mining operations. They had complained for centuries and received nothing but empty promises. Now humanity offered them something real. Partnership as equals. Species after species made the same choice. The Morith, ancient and wise. The Tazari, small and brilliant. The 100th, fierce and loyal. Each had their own reasons for joining, but they all shared one thing. They were tired of being treated as lesser beings. on the bridge of the Defiance. Captain Chun watched the Namari captain think about his offer. "You are asking us to join a war," the alien said slowly. "No," Marcus replied. "We are asking if you are tired of being treated like you do not matter. We are asking if you want a voice in how the galaxy is run. We are asking if you would like to be respected. And if we say no, then you go on your way. We will not stop you. We will not hurt you. That is not who we are." The Namari captain was quiet for a long time. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed. "Do you know," he said, "in 300 years of wandering, no one has ever asked what we wanted. No one has ever offered us respect. Everyone takes from us. Everyone pushes us away. And now you, a species we have never met, you offer us friendship." He spread his forearms wide. "We accept." Back on Earth, Ambassador Vasquez watched the reports come in with growing amazement. 37 species had joined humanity's coalition in just 3 months. Former enemies were becoming friends. Old hatreds were being set aside. Something new was being born. She met with Admiral Tanaka in the command center to discuss their next moves. "The Concord is falling apart," Tanaka reported. "Half their member species are asking for peace. The other half are fighting among themselves. The Voleth are trapped in their home system and cannot break out. We could end this now," Vasquez said. "Push into their territory. Force a surrender." "We could," Tanaka agreed. "But should we?" Vasquez looked at the map showing their coalition's territory. It had grown so fast. Humanity had gone from being alone to leading an alliance that spanned a quarter of known space. "What do our new allies want?" she asked. "They want what we promised them. Fairness, respect, a place at the table." Vasquez nodded slowly. "Then that is what we must build. If we just conquer the old powers and take their place, we have not changed anything. We will have become what we fought against." "Some will call that weakness," Tanaka warned. "Let them. We did not start this war to become tyrants. We started it because we wanted a galaxy where species are judged by their actions, not their age. If we lose sight of that, we lose everything." The Admiral smiled. It was the first time she had smiled in months. "I was hoping you would say that." On dozens of worlds, the news spread. The Coalition of Free Worlds was not just fighting for humanity. It was fighting for everyone who had ever been told they were not good enough. Everyone who had been exploited and ignored and pushed aside. And on a damaged Vela station, prisoners of war listened to Coalition broadcasts with growing confusion. They had been taught that other species were enemies. They had been told that humanity wanted to destroy them, but the humans gave them food and medicine. They treated their wounds. They spoke to them with respect. One young Vela soldier asked a human guard why they were being treated so well. The guard shrugged. "Because we are not like you. We do not enjoy hurting people. We fight because we must, not because we want to. When this is over, we hope we can be neighbors instead of enemies." The soldier did not know what to say. His entire understanding of the universe was changing. Across the galaxy, millions of beings were experiencing the same feeling. The old order was dying. Something new was rising in its place. And humanity was at the center of it all. 1 year after humanity said enough, the galaxy gathered at Vega Station to sign a peace treaty. Ships from 40 different species filled the space around the massive structure. Some had been enemies weeks ago. Now they waited together, uncertain but hopeful, wondering what would come next. Ambassador Elena Vasquez walked through the corridors of the station, preparing for the most important moment of her life. In a few hours, she would stand before representatives of every major species and present the framework for a new galactic order. The document she carried had taken months to write. Every word had been debated and revised and debated again. Admiral Tanaka met her outside the Great Hall. The Admiral looked tired. She had spent the past year fighting a war she never wanted, and the weight of it showed on her face. "Our forces are in position," Tanaka said quietly. "If anything goes wrong, nothing will go wrong," Vasquez replied. "Today is about building, not fighting. Some of our allies disagree. They want us to push harder, take more territory, make the old powers pay for what they did." Vasquez nodded. She had heard these arguments many times. Many in the coalition believed humanity was being too soft. They wanted revenge for centuries of mistreatment. "If we take everything," she said, "we become what we fought against." The old Concord ruled through fear and power. We must be different. Otherwise, what was the point? The doors to the Great Hall opened. Inside, hundreds of beings waited in silence. At the center was a raised platform where the treaty would be signed. Above it, screens showed the faces of leaders watching from distant worlds. Vasquez walked to the platform alone. She looked out at the assembled species, former enemies, new friends, uncertain allies. They were watching her, waiting to hear what humanity wanted. She had planned a long speech. She had memorized every word. But standing there, looking at all those faces, she decided to speak from her heart instead. "1 year ago, I stood in a room much like this one and announced that humanity was done being patient. We had been exploited and ignored and mistreated for 2 centuries. We decided to fight back." She paused, letting the memories wash over her. "We won our battles. We built an alliance that spans a quarter of the galaxy. We could now do to others what was done to us. We could become the rulers of a new empire built on the same injustice we once suffered." The chamber was completely silent. "We choose not to." She held up the treaty document. "This agreement dissolves the old hierarchy forever. There will be no more levels of membership. No more species treated as lesser beings because they are young or small or different. Every signatory will have an equal voice. Every world will have equal protection." Murmurs ran through the crowd. Some sounded hopeful. Others sounded suspicious. "I know many of you are wondering why we would give up our advantage. We have the strongest fleet. We have the most allies. We could take whatever we want. Why would we choose equality instead of power?" She smiled sadly. "Because power was never the point. We did not fight to become masters of the galaxy. We fought because we wanted a galaxy where kindness is not mistaken for weakness. Where fairness does not depend on how many ships you have. Where every species has the chance to grow and thrive and reach its full potential." She looked directly at the Voleth delegation, sitting in the corner of the room. Their empire was shattered. Their pride was broken. They expected punishment. "Even those who hurt us deserve a place in this new order. We ask only that they commit to the same principles we all will follow: respect for others, peaceful resolution of conflicts, and recognition that every being has value." The ceremony continued for hours. Species signed the treaty one by one. Some did so eagerly. Others hesitated, but eventually agreed. By the time the sun set on Vega Station, the galaxy had changed forever. 6 months later, Elena Vasquez stood on New Carthage for the dedication of a memorial. The planet that had almost been stolen was now a symbol of hope. Gardens grew where fear had once ruled. Children played in fields that had nearly been taken from them. The memorial was simple: a stone wall with words carved into it. Elena read them silently as crowds gathered for the ceremony. "We came to the stars hoping for friendship. We found a galaxy that mistook kindness for weakness. We taught them the difference. May those who come after us never need to learn it again." An old Morith diplomat approached her. Yemeth had traveled far to attend this ceremony. His people had been among the first to join the coalition, and his wisdom had helped shape the new order. "Your species is remarkable," he said. "I have lived for centuries, and I have never seen anything like what you have accomplished." Elena shook her head. "We just wanted to be treated fairly. Everything else followed from that." No, Yema said gently. You wanted more than fairness. You wanted to build something better. Most species in your position would have taken revenge. You chose mercy. That is rare. That is precious. She thought about his words. Maybe he was right. Maybe humanity had shown something special in choosing restraint when power was within their grasp. What comes next? She asked. The treaty is signed, but building a new order will take generations. It will, Yemeth agreed. There will be challenges. Old hatreds do not disappear overnight. Some will try to return to the old ways, and when they do, the old alien smiled. Then you will do what you always do. You will be patient as long as patience is deserved. And when it is not, you will remind the galaxy why kindness should never be confused with weakness. Above them, ships from a dozen species patrolled together, former enemies now working as partners. On the surface below, humans and aliens walked side by side through streets that had nearly been lost. Elena Vasquez looked up at the sky and felt something she had not felt in years. Peace, real peace, built on respect instead of fear. Humanity had stopped being nice when niceness was rewarded with exploitation. They had fought when fighting was necessary. And when they won, they chose to build instead of destroy. The galaxy would never forget that lesson. And somewhere out there, among the stars, other young species were watching, learning, understanding that they did not have to accept mistreatment, that they could stand up for themselves while still choosing hope over hatred. That was humanity's true victory. Not the battles they won, but the example they set. A galaxy where kindness could finally be strength.